7, 6, 5. 4-stage engine start. 3, 2, 1. Boosters in ignition. And liftoff of Artemis 1. We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
Historic Artemis mission lifted off in November. It's paving the way for astronauts to return to the moon for the first time in half a century. Well, welcome to the top space stories of 2022. For more, I'm joined by Dan Riskin, CTV Science and Technology Specialist. Dan, great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. I can't help but smile. You see that rocket take off, and like we waited so long for this thing, and it was just glorious. And it went to the moon, it went around the moon, it came back. It didn't crash. I mean, it was just great.
It was, and essentially, it really was worth the wait.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been 50 years since the last Apollo mission left the moon. So we are right on schedule, maybe 50 years too late by some people's measure. But I mean, it's a great time for us to get back there. And so the Artemis mission is really humanity's plan to get back to the moon. And it's really exciting for a whole bunch of reasons, not least of which is that they want to get women on the moon. They want to get people of color on the moon. And we just want, as humanity, we want to be able to use the moon as our next stepping stone going out toward Mars and other places. And so we had to do it. It took a long time for this to come together. In a lot of ways, it was sort of a back to the future sort of a situation where we're looking at a rocket that reminds us of the Apollo missions. You've got your capsule on top of that thing, and it's, getting pushed into space. Then it goes flying around the moon and then comes back and crashes down into the ocean, splashes down, sorry, not crashes. But the views of the moon that we saw in, that high def, beautiful 4K that is only available now and we didn't have back in the day, just really drives home that the moon is still a very special place. And it's not a place where we sort of been there and done that. We have a lot of exciting things to come. And so Artemis 2, when humans, including a Canadian, will be on board the spacecraft going to the moon, is coming shortly. And like any great science, it has us more excited about the future than we are about what we already have.
So much that was going on this year. We've got that in that first phase that is so pivotal. But also NASA's DART mission. This was the first time humans intentionally changed the motion of an object in space, changing the trajectory of an asteroid. And I remember you and I talking about this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And this is another one where just so much anticipation, a launch months before it finally got there. And, just having to hit this target so fast. I mean, you've got a big asteroid and you've got a little tiny spacecraft. And the only way you're going to make any kind of change to where that big thing is going is if you hit it really, really fast. And so this spacecraft had to be going at incredible speed. And the beauty is that when it hit, there was a camera mounted on the front, and we got to see, there it is. That's that beautiful view that we had just moments before impact. And then, of course, the signal went dead because the thing got obliterated. But after a few days, they were able to track what had happened. Not only had we created a giant debris field and a huge tail on this thing that hadn't been there before, but we also changed its trajectory. We actually now can say that we have a plan. If the universe throws an asteroid at us and tries to do to us what it did to the dinosaurs, we at least have one plan that we can try before we sort of throw in the towel.
One plan that we've got put in place here, pretty iconic. What's also been pretty incredible is the James Webb Space Telescope. We're keeping a very close eye on that. It was launched around this time last year, and it's been some of its most notable discoveries so far. Pictures have been absolutely incredible. Dan, talk to us about that.
Yeah, as we talk about these three space stories, Artemis and DART, and now James Webb, it's sort of like, a nod to the past and the present, and now this is definitely the future. The images that are going to come from this spacecraft, this telescope that sits now 1.5 million kilometers away from the Earth, floating in space, away from the warmth of Earth, which would mess with its infrared cameras. It is going to show us things that we couldn't have dreamt, we couldn't imagine. There are certain things you can't learn what's out there unless you go out and look at it. And so this spacecraft, this telescope that's out there, that is built, by the way, by Canadians as much as anyone else. I mean, the Canadian Space Agency is part of the creators of the James Webb Space Telescope. We are going to really go into the future with a whole new set of discoveries. And so there's every reason to be I think that's possibly the most exciting of all three in terms of what we're going to discover about our universe is the James Webb Space Telescope. We had so many eggs in that basket, and it was there was just, if anything went wrong, we were going to lose it all. And yet it launched, and it's doing its job perfectly, and it's just a great thing to celebrate.
It's been pretty incredible, and I love the fact that there is all of this Canadian involvement, which, it screams that we're going to have so much more come 2023 and into the future when we're looking at all of this. Dan, it is great to have you to sort of give our scientific wrap, if you will. Dan Riskin, CTV Science and Technology Specialist. Thank you so much for this, Dan.